I think we can. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to welcome everyone to the November 9th business meeting of the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thanks for attending. Those here present, those watching at home. Mr. Malvesto will be here shortly, I hope. At this time, I will open up to addition, but we do have a quorum, additions and deletions to the agenda.
Mr. Supervisor.
Mr. Budney.
I'm going to do a couple of things since Mr. Malvesto isn't here. First of all, I'd like to delete action item number 3. At this time, we need a little more discussion on that item before we bring it forward.
Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Treasurer Vanos. Reason?
The price seems to be low based on documentation that we received.
Because the documentation I saw, which I assume is the same, the price looks like what the market will bear for. I just don't see us getting anything. Personally, I don't see us getting anything higher, and I'd like that to be open for board discussion, and we can make a decision.
That, if you want to do it that way, that's fine with me. I would have rather to talk to Lorinda about it.
Well, we have a motion and a second.
Yeah. So.
Any other comment on the disposal of the F-350 dump? Okay, we have a motion and a second. Those in favor of deleting that from the agenda, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, let me go with, I have Mr. Budney. Ms. Smith? Aye. Mr. Vanos?
Nay.
Mr. Posiask?
Nay.
Clerk Ranka?
Nay.
Aye, and Supervisor Nay, that will stay. And we'll discuss it then. Did you have another addition or deletion, Mr. Budney?
Well, I did. I didn't, but since... Oh, here comes Mr. Malvesto.
All right, we'll hold discussions
Let
in.
him. Yes, you are.
Not anymore. I tried to stall him, Tom, but...
Okay.
I apologize.
All right, with that, did you have another amendment to the agenda?
I did. I had nothing else.
Okay, well, I do. I'd like to beg the board's indulgence to add a closed session at the end of tonight's meeting for lease discussion on the Water's Edge restaurant negotiations.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Budney. It'll be closed session, so I can't talk about what we're going to be talking about, but the township attorney requested to get us together and update us on the status of the lease negotiations. Any questions, comments from the board? None. For those in favor of adding closed session at the end of tonight's meeting, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? That will be added. Any other additions, deletions to the agenda? Okay, with none offered, those... Oh, I'm sorry.
Does that mean you're taking this agenda?
Right, that was supposed to be...
There's a delete in the package.
There is a delete. So, in that, thank you. Thank you, Clerk Ranka. I move that we remove the action item number 5. It was right in there. I move we delete action item number 5 from tonight's agenda.
Support.
Okay, moved by the supervisor, seconded by Trustee Budney. Obviously, we're going to be talking about it after the meeting tonight, so probably should have done it in reverse order. But with that, those in favor of removing action item number 5, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that will be removed. Now, thank you for straightening me out on that. Those in favor of approving any other additions, deletions to the agenda? Good. Those in favor of approving the agenda as amended, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The agenda stands amended. With that, I'll open up to a previously scheduled presentation. This is part of the island beautification, and I'm going to invite an old friend, an old familiar face would be a better term, Mrs. Frucci, to initiate this. We have some awards to give out tonight, and I got some parts of my job are better than others, but this is one of the good parts. So, if you're Mrs. Frucci, would you give a little bit of background on island beautification and what these decals are about, the awards we're about to give tonight?
All righty. We have been around town, around the island, for 40 years, but we were not official until 1975, when the Township Board voted to establish an island beautification committee and not a commission, as we had requested. But we have worked as a committee now for 40 years. And we were unofficial back in 1974 when I was a stay-at-home mom, and I went to Supervisor Dewey Henry, he's an old friend, and I said, can you Township do something about all the trash that's lying along the roadside? And this was pre-bottle bill. And I remember at one of our litter counts that we had done back then, there were 4,000 throwaway bottles and cans lining our main streets, mostly on Meridian Road. So back in 1974, when I went to Dewey and said, how about the township cleaning up the roads, he said, why don't you do something about it? And he suggested that we start a beautification commission. Well, we put together some ideas, we came to the board, and in the meantime, because we didn't get official until 75, here were some of the activities we did. We had a recycling center, we had it at the car wash, then we moved to the township. We had a truck that came in the last Saturday of the month. When paper got down to $2 a ton, we took the newspaper and we got a log roller and we sold paper logs. And we would make about $800 a year, and this covered most of our expenses. We had an official logo that was designed by Florence Kaufman, and this is on our new decals that we're giving out. And provided 100 of these tote bags with our logo on it. I sent a copy of this, or I actually sent Florence, who's 90-something years old down in Florida, I sent her a tote bag, and she said, I am so glad the beautification committee is still around, because 40 years ago she designed the logo. So I sent her a bag, and she said she found it it was very handy. One of our other activities is we found in front of the Sandbox Nursery, she had an antique bathtub with artificial flowers stuck in it. And so we went to her and we said, if the garden club and the beautification committee plants it with real flowers, could we do that for you? And building blocks is here because they're in the building that was the Sandbox, and they've got shrubbery and flowers, and it's a real improvement. We did litter surveys, pre-bottle bill, and we did eyesore surveys. We went to the schools with programs on tree planting and an ecological theme. We painted and distributed litter barrels up and down our main streets. We had 3 goals: beautification, anti-litter, and recycling. And Baird Wallace, who was very active back in those days, had a pickup truck, and we'd collect recyclables and truck them up to Redford Township, where they had a drop-off center for recycling. Now we've really come a long ways, because with curbside pickup, it's convenient, and I understand that Grosse Ile has one of the highest rates of recycling. 60% of our households are into recycling. Well, current activities are we provide litter barrels around the island, and they're painted with, or they've got a decal on, Keep Grosse Ile Beautiful. And we plant and maintain the flower beds at Four Corners. Garden Club has one of the beds, but we have 3 out of the 4 beds at Four Corners. We do the entranceway, when you come onto the island, the entranceway sign always has flowers in front of it, and at the north end of the island, Michelle Babcock maintains that. And we meet the first Monday of the month here at the Township. We've got long-serving members. I think you all know Art Kester. He's been with the Beautification Committee for 39 years. I'm the longest serving. I've been around for 40 years, 41 years actually. Brian Medved, who's taken over for Art until he feels up to coming back and joining us again after a health problem. Brian Medved is a middle school teacher, and he served 13 years. Michelle Babcock has served 9 years, and we have a weeder extraordinary. She's pretty new, but Irma Slimko, because the beds look so good, it's basically because Irma hates a weed, and she's out there making sure they look trim and weed-free. So this year, to celebrate our 40th anniversary, we decided a little different approach to, because every year we do a survey of the businesses along Macomb Street. And we used to do like first, second, and third outstanding beautification. And this year we had a little different approach. We did 1, 2, and 3. 2s and 3s we felt were good to excellent. And so we have this year a decal with our logo on it, and it says, "This business is helping to keep Grosse Ile blooming and beautiful," and it's awarded by the Island Beautification Committee, celebrating 40-plus years keeping Grosse Ile clean and green. So we have some of the businesses here. They were invited to come and receive their decal. If they couldn't make it tonight, then I can drop them off at the business. But if you would read the list of 24.
Okay, we do. Ms. Frucci said we have a list of 30, and just if we could, to move things along, first, Bank of America. Present or any volunteers? How about Beverly Morris Family Dentist? I don't see her. Bishop's Cottage. Building Blocks. Carol Bolo Real Estate. Century 21. We're not doing too well, are we? Classic Construction. Yay! All right. Thank you.
The window.
Thank you very much.
Display it with pride. Fifth Third Bank. Genesis Financial. Oh. Still can't see past that monitor. Thank you. Genesis Financial. Great Lakes Gallery. Grosse Ile Car Wash. Grosse Ile Marketplace. Island Animal Clinic. Island Coney. Island Woods Senior Apartments. Yay. Kathy's Cafe. Lifelong Family Dentist. Lloyd's. MBA Real Estate. Old Spokes Home. I know she's here. Ortho Sports Fitness. Yay.
It's actually physical therapy.
Even better. You're getting the same decal. Thank you. PNC Bank. Perdino's. Patton on the Ritz. Salon Sigrid. Save on Drugs. State Farm Insurance. Oh, hey, oh. Urgent care. No, VFW and Victorian Place. So if you didn't make it tonight, Mrs. Frucci will be delivering plaques. Please display them with pride. We've got one more to recognize. And if you remember back not that long ago, we had a teacher here who is striving to eliminate the plastic bags we seem to be finding well, not as many as we used to, but we're still finding. But anyway, Mrs. Gimble, you got to come up. Everybody else did. So mostly because I want you to be able to display the plaque if you would put it over the Grow Seal logo. And Colleen Gimple, one of our your kindergarten teacher, who was leading the anti-plastic bag, getting us to think about reusable bags for shopping rather than throwaway plastic bags. And Keep Michigan Beautiful thought this was an excellent initiative and awarded her with a plaque. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming tonight.
And there are a couple of members of our committee that are here tonight. Maybe you could recognize them as...
Would you recognize, because again, I've got this thing in the way, and I can see about 2/3 of the room. So if you would...
Members of the beautification committee. We've got the weeder extraordinaire.
If I stretch, I can see Ermin. I see Jerry. Thanks for coming tonight. And again, I still... Okay, thank you, Mrs. Fruch. That'll conclude tonight's presentation. And with that, I'll open the mic to comments on tonight's agenda items. Tonight's dwindling agenda items. All right, once again, with none offered, we'll move on to the consent agenda. Mr. Treasurer.
I can make a motion to approve consent agenda 15-073, which is the minutes of the October 26, 2015 regular meeting, approval of special meeting minutes of November 2nd, 2015, check register dated from October 24th, 2015 through November 6, 2015, and authorized to process payments through December 11th, 2015.
Support.
Okay, moved by Treasurer Van Oss, seconded by Trustee Bunny to approve the consent agenda. Any questions or comments among the board? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the consent agenda as published, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. The consent agenda stands approved. With that, we'll move to action items. Mr. Clerk.
Mr. Supervisor.
Excuse me. Do you want to do the brief comment on the agenda?
Nobody volunteered.
Nobody volunteered? Okay.
Mr. Supervisor, I move to accept the Planning Commission resolution of affirmation dated September 21st, 2015 of the Groseal Township Master Plan as being current, and further, the Planning Commission encourages the Township Board to begin budgeting for a master plan update over the next 2 to 5 years.
Support.
Okay, moved by Clerk Rankin, seconded by Trustee Budney.
So a little bit of the history on this. So the past year and a half, the Planning Commission has studied and discussed the 2002 Master Plan during 4 regular meetings. Those meetings took place March 3rd, 2014, May 19th, 2014, March 16th, 2015, and September 21st, 2015. The Planning Commission determined that analysis of the community conditions, the future land use plan, and recommendations were current and still applicable to the current conditions in the township. There was some discussion at the Planning Commission level that we should seek some input from some of the other commissions, the DDA, for example, bike path, to make sure that there is nothing that we need to do sooner than 2 to 5 years. So essentially, every 5 years by the state of Michigan, we have to reaffirm the master plan. So tonight's action is basically reaffirming that, and then also encouraging us to begin the budgeting process, because it is a very lengthy process, a fairly expensive process with all the different public input required for the master plan, so that we begin preparing part of the budget over the next couple of years, so that when it comes time, we have the money to make the new master plan a reality.
Okay, well, we know we'll be getting inputs from REC because they're revising the Recreation Master Plan. DDA will be taking some new approaches, so you'll be getting different inputs from DDA. And we need closer communication between DDA and the master plan, so we'll get that kicked off. Other comments for Clerk Rank on the Township Master Plan?
Mr. Supervisor,
Suppose yes.
I expect to see some comment for BPAC and for the master plan also.
Very good. Very good. Other comments for Clerk Rank? Any other questions on the master plan? With none, then, recommend the Grosse Ile Township Board of Trustees accepts the Planning Commission's resolution of affirmation dated 21 September 2015. Grosse Ile Township Master Plan is being current. Further, the Planning Commission encourages the board to begin budgeting for a master plan update over the next 2 to 5 years. For those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Let's move to action item number 2. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would like to make a motion to approve the Comcast franchise agreement based upon the Michigan Public Service Commission Uniform Video Service Local Franchise Agreement for a period of 10 years to include a 5% video service fee. Furthermore, to place a separate equipment budget line item, an additional $4,000 per year from PEG fees with the Communication Department for 10 years.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Smith, seconded by Trustee Budney.
Because Mr. Fournier is not here, he would probably be the one to give you a little bit more history behind this. But basically, due to state law, we have no negotiating power in this contract at all whatsoever. But Comcast is basically living up to their past commitment to us. So they're going to give us $40,000 to basically continue to offer Comcast here on the island. So it kind of equals about 0.15 or 1.15% of their gross revenues over the 10-year time frame. So that's essentially it. But he's proposing that we bank these monies for future equipment updates and replacements as necessary.
Well, we could always amend the budget if we needed to.
Exactly.
Trying to read this.
Still a game we play with it. Other questions, comments among the board on the franchise agreement?
Yeah, Mr. Supervisor, how does this new agreement
Differ from the past?
Yeah.
Doesn't. It's exactly the same.
Okay.
Comcast is actually living up to the commitment. So it's exactly the same as we've had in the past.
Other questions or comments? Okay, with none offered, those in favor of approving the Comcast franchise agreement based on the Michigan Public Service Commission Uniform Video Service Local Franchise Agreement, for a period of 10 years to include a 5% video service fee, and it places a separate equipment budget line item, additional $4,000 per year from the PEG, that's Public Education and Government broadcast fees within the Communication Department for the next 10 years. Please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? None offered. That will pass. Okay. The contentious one, action item number 3. Introduce it anyway, Mr. Budney?
Wow, contentious. Motion to authorize the sale of the Ford F-350 dump truck to Campo Brothers, Inc. in the amount of $5,000 in as-is condition.
Support. Okay, moved by Trustee Budney, seconded by Treasurer Vanos, and Ms. Beneteau, fill us in on the disposal of this.
Oh, this little gem? Good evening. It's a 2003 dump truck. It was in an accident back in 2013. We had the box repaired on it along with the frame. That insurance claim repair was in the amount of $3,400. While they were repairing it, they found some other items that were wrong. So part of it was for a new suspension and a new starter, which was almost $3,000. There was additional work that they wanted to perform, sandblasting the body on it. And as they started to do it, they notified us that the undercarriage was all rust out. They were afraid that once they started sandblasting, that the whole body would start falling apart. So we took it upon ourselves just to bring it back, and we stored it in the yard. Additional repairs would be in the amount of $1,200 for brakes and a brake line replacement, $1,500 on a transmission line replacement, and it was leaking transmission fluid as they brought it back. Also, the underbody repair, additional $2,500. So in order to figure out what a fair market value was this, I did a little bit of research online. I came up with a couple of different prices. In bare condition, it runs between $7,000 and $8,000. The condition of this vehicle is probably below that. Campo Brothers had approached the township, and they they made an offer to purchase the vehicle, and so I thought it would be in the best interest to bring it before the board. In addition, this vehicle only has about 11,000 miles on it, and it's pretty rusted out.
So 11,000 miles on it, but a lot of idle time.
Yeah.
It's a gasoline engine too, right? Correct.
I believe it is,
I think that's
yes.
what our research showed. It was gasoline,
Yes.
not diesel.
It
Not
must
diesel.
be a V8, yeah.
Questions for Ms. Benetton? The Compo's offer is $5,000. They want to strip it for parts because they have similar vehicles in their fleet. I don't think they're going to use the frame.
No.
Mr. Budden, you had some numbers.
Obviously had some
curious
some
as to
questions
your
about. Yeah, well, number one, the underbody repair shows, I think, $2,500. Information that we were given shows a rough trade-in, which would be, from reading their definition, less than what a truck in worse condition than what we have would actually be about $7,600. The fair condition one was 7,000 something. I just thought this needed to be looked at a little more to see if we could get a little more for it. I understand that we don't evidently have a use, except where it seems like we're always somewhere in the township looking for a truck. Even if one of the other departments were to take this truck and put $5,000 into it, it'd be a lot cheaper than buying a brand new truck. So and the fact also, one of the other things that was in our documentation, a truck with 200,000 miles on it sold for $7,000 something. Here, this is a truck with 11,000 miles. I just thought with what was presented to us, that we could get a little more for that truck than what we're getting. That's all. Just, again, based on everything that was given to us. Now, I was going to take a look at the truck, but didn't have a chance today, so I was going to go tomorrow, but that
You can
might
still take
not
a look
be,
at it.
Well, might not be necessary.
True.
If we're going to give it
True.
away, let's
I'll
give
let
it
you
away.
look at it.
What was John Keim, our DPS lead?
He said it wasn't worth sinking any more money into it. And, I take John at his word because this is the vehicle that he would drive. And he's been up to the dealer at 11 Mile and talked with them extensively about it. Looked at it, looked underneath it, saw the rust. I just don't pictures of the undercarriage. So.
Well, I'm not an expert on what's repairable and corrosion,
Right.
And I'm not going to have to drive the thing. So,
Well, I'm guessing at 11,000 miles, we used it mainly on township property.
Correct.
We weren't driving it around.
Correct.
We were maybe plowing the airport or plowing our parking lot or something
Township
like
properties.
that. Yeah.
and unfortunately, spreading a lot of salt, which was
And the salt sat in the truck all winter long, so.
which is something we shouldn't be doing for future
Well,
reference.
Well,
It did.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Yeah.
Well,
It seems
with a
like
keen
we might have added to the.
With a keen grasp of the obvious here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Other questions?
That was my basis for it. The documentation didn't seem to live up to what we were getting for it.
I'm sorry, Clerk Ranka?
Sure. So I can appreciate Trustee Bundy's concern on this. I mean, I look at this, if it's, if our offer is $5,000, we know it's going to cost roughly $5,200 at least to get it to where we would consider it safe for our people to operate. Take that off of even the best value at $1,000, and we're still coming out ahead by selling the dump truck as is right now. So I'm okay with it as it sits.
Okay. Mr. Posiask?
Just for a little insight, vehicles like that run very few miles on the odometer, but run bajillions of miles on an hour meter, aren't very good. I'll give you an example. I have a vehicle at my place of employment that has 10,000 miles on it that has extensive corrosion on it from sitting around just from moisture in parking lots. It becomes a vehicle that you fix and spend $500 a week on, and then you fix it and something else goes wrong with it. Further than that, this is a DOT-capable truck. And if you were to have that truck inspected in the current condition, I think they'd probably condemn the frame. So my position is that if Mr. Capo wants to buy the truck for the engine and the transmission, I think it's a fair price.
Starting to sound like cars my dad used to drive. I'm sorry, Mr. Treasurer.
Or the car like I drive. Does this include the snowplow equipment too?
No.
We're keeping that?
Yeah, as far as I know, we are, yeah.
Say again?
Yes, as far as I know, we're going to keep the snowplow.
All right, then I have no objection.
Lorinda, you don't plan on replacing that truck?
It was already replaced last year.
Okay, so you'd still be, whatever insurance or maintenance costs on this truck, that would be eliminated then?
Correct. We're not fixing it.
I mean, just normal maintenance as if you were running it.
Oh, if we were running it?
Yeah. And
I think the only
a licensed
maintenance,
vehicle, right? So you have to license it
the
and
only,
insure it?
the only maintenance that would be on it is if something breaks, we'd fix it. And, whatever necessary, whatever they do.
But it's still an insured vehicle, and
Yes, it is still
This
insured.
would be a cost that you'd be
Yeah, I don't
saving
know
as well.
how much is it?
I think it's like 700.
Yeah, 700, so I thought.
Other questions, comments for Ms. Benedetto?
Yeah, my only, one more comment, and it was, my whole thought was to take it off this meeting and bring it back next meeting after a lot of things were looked into, because I talked to Linda this afternoon.
Yeah.
And just to satisfy the questions, but it wasn't necessarily to kill the sale completely, and I was told that there was no, time was not of the essence here, that we could do that. So that was the thought process, to make sure that we're getting as much as we can out of it rather than speculating.
Any other further questions, comments? All right, with none offered, those in favor of authorizing the sale of the Ford F-1 350 dump truck with the aforementioned vehicle identification number to Campo Brothers Incorporated in the amount of $5,000 in as-is condition, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Okay, Mr. Budney opposed. The motion carries.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Benedetto. Mr. Malvesto, actually, this is out of Miss Boyd. If you would be so kind, sir.
Sure. Mr. Supervisor, the proposed motion reads, the Township Board approves a Recreation Director to apply for a Smart Section 5310 transportation grant for a 15-passenger van. And Ms. Boyd will... once
second.
Supported, okay. Ms. Boyd will explain...
It's a vehicle theme evening tonight. I think it was last meeting I was up here regarding our SMART dollars that we use for our transportation services, for our senior programming, and our Meals on Wheels program. Well, the other division of SMART, they have a grant program that I was unaware of until just recently. They just put a call out. They don't do it every year. It's dependent on the budget that they have. In SMART, just for everyone, it's the Suburban Mobility Authority for Regional Transportation. And they put a call out for transportation program, or transportation grant opportunities. So projects that people are needing, basically it boils down to a replacement vehicles for people who do senior programming or senior transportation, and transportation for those with disabilities. So they are trying to eliminate barriers for those two segments of the population to allow them to be mobile and out into the community. As soon as it came across my desk, the first thing I thought of was we could use the money in the rec department for new vehicles. We have 4 vehicles currently that we use, and we are down to only now 1 working vehicle. Our the old police car that Sue drives for Meals on Wheels and transportation is on its very last leg. The transmission fluid is leaking like a sieve. It no longer holds transportation or transmission fluid. And our senior van, the starter is broken on it, and there's some other issues that it won't stay running. You can get it started. So we have basically been borrowing vehicles just this week, so this couldn't come at a better time for us. If you'll also remember, in the last couple of years for our CDBG money, which is our community block grant funding, we put aside money for a van to replace our current van. Well, if we use the SMART dollars for our van, we can use our CDBG money for a smaller, like mini type van that we can use for our Meals on Wheels program and local transportation for people who don't need additional assistance with wheelchair lifts. So we would be able to place actually both of our vehicles at no cost to the township. The SMART grant funding is 80-20 split, with 80% of the dollars coming from federal dollars and 20% coming from Michigan, so from MDOT. SMART goes through and acquires the vehicles. They purchase them on our behalf, and then they are given to the various township and communities. Melvindale and Taylor just were local recipients over the last couple of years, and then they call it the Points up in East Point. Harper Woods, the Point region, they also received, all three of those communities received 2 vehicles. So they are being used, and it's a great program to get new vehicles for those who are, we have it on our budget for maintenance, but to replace the vehicles are very, very expensive. So when grant opportunities come along like this, it's very beneficial to the communities. So I'm asking you, one, if I have permission to apply, and if we're given the grant, if we can accept the van.
Brandy?
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Malvesto.
Do you know what type of, number one, do you know what type of vehicle that'll be?
Not specifically, but we have options. I mean, they have 50 passenger buses down to little buses. What I'm proposing is it's called a mini bus, and it's 15 passenger, or it's 12 with a wheelchair.
Ford, GM, Chrysler?
We don't have control over
Right.
that. It's something that they acquire them.
Who has title over the vehicles?
We would.
Okay, so they're purchased on our behalf, and we have title on it.
Yep, because they get mass budgeting. So I mean, they're probably buying almost, the grant is $10 million, so they're buying several vans and buses.
I understand this, you really have to be quick in getting our grant application in.
It's due Friday.
So what type of time frame would you expect once your application is submitted?
It's from the time of submittal to the time of getting the bus is about a year, because it has to go through both federal and state funding.
So we have to nurse what we have along.
Well, if I'm confident that if we apply, that we're going to receive the grant. It's just a process. So I would encourage us to use our CBG money right away to replace the vehicle that Sue currently drives, the police car, and not put any other funding or money into that vehicle.
But that money would be available to us. We could purchase a vehicle for
immediately.
that
Yep.
Yeah, immediately.
Okay. It's over a 2-year period that we've collected the money, and we were able to use both years starting July 1. So the money is available, and like all CDBG projects, we purchase it and then we apply for vouchers to get the money back.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
He asked my question, so.
I've got is there a potential downside? Are there any things that don't really come to the surface on this? What could go wrong with this? And I get scared to death when I start thinking this way, but there's...
Oh, and it has routine maintenance, so in 10 years down the road, there's going to be maintenance costs, but I think that's something that we... Are there any other
strings attached we should know about?
Nope.
We know we're going to have to maintain the vehicle. We know we've got to provide a driver and maintain the wheelchair lift, set up schedules.
Well, and the great thing about it is we really expand our programming, which really excites me. We'll be able to do our own senior trips. Right now, we have a hard time running them on the island because we don't get enough people, because they're expensive. So you have to pay for a large bus, the coach buses, regardless regardless of where the trip's going, you probably have either anywhere from $20 to $40 just to pay for the bus. Then the trip cost. So to go on a one-day trip, our seniors are paying $80 to $100, and that's not affordable for some. So we have a hard time delivering those trips on the island. So if we had our own trip or our own van, we could take 12 to 15 people with us and go on a day trip and provide more senior programming to our community.
Okay, any other questions for Ms. I'm sorry,
And this is not meant to be a grilling, but a 15-passenger van, I know once you put the wheelchair lift in it, that reduces the capacity.
Correct.
So on a 15-passenger vehicle,
They have different configurations, and some go down to 12, and some go down to 10.
but we're not going to lose half the van.
No.
Because in some of the older vans, you lost half of your seating.
Sorry. It's one of the low ones, so it's easier. The whole purpose is to have easy mobility, so you're not struggling to get your passengers in there. So it's a low step, and then the lift is in the back. So it's
the lift up. Would only hold one wheelchair.
They have different configurations, so I have to see what they're offering.
Yeah, I'm just
Some
thinking
have
if we
like
are
two
going to
lifts,
expand
some have two tie downs, some have one.
my thought was if we are expanding, potential for seniors trips, you may very well have more than one, person in a wheelchair. That's the only reason I'm asking the question.
We
be
want
some
to
options
watch
for you.
the size because we don't want to get too long of a bus.
Exactly. Then you can't drive it.
Well, then there's like different levels of bus transportation and the levels that you have to get the different license types. So we want to make sure that we're getting one that is versatile so we can have options to share with other communities their bus drivers that they have, so we're not taking on the expense of training and one person for ourselves.
I think may have been some of the downfalls you may have been
I was just
thinking of.
I'm just nervous. That's all.
Well, I just.
But thanks. Suppose yes.
I believe that the van that we currently own at 2003 was purchased the same way that you are proposing to do this one. And so I don't know that there's any skeletons in the closet. Pretty comfortable with that program. I buy vehicles through the state fleet, and we have the same sort of an opportunity. So it's been a good deal for us, and I think it's been a good deal for Grosse Ile. You mentioned that there is a wheelchair lift. Please inside, not outside.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Takes Hulk Hogan to pull that one
Yes,
apart right
they're
now.
a lot more user-friendly than they were back in 2003.
Good idea, Brandy.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments for Ms. Boyd? Yeah, with none offered, recommendation is the Township Board to approve the Recreation Director to apply for a Smart Section 5310 Transportation Grant for a 15-passenger van. Those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? None offered? Find more of these. Thank you, Ms. Boyd. All right. Action item number 6. Mrs. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. I would like to make a motion to the Township Board that they approve the acceptance of Nicole Finney's resignation from the Festival Commission.
Support. Okay, moved by Trustee Smith, seconded by Trustee Budney.
Nicole Finney had essentially turned in her resignation, and she served on the Festival Commission for about 3 years, and I'd like to thank her for her time and effort while serving the commission. We wish her the best of luck in the future.
Okay. Questions count. Not much we can say. We can't make her stay on. So, those in favor of accepting with regret Ms. Finney's resignation from the Festival Commission, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None offered. Thank you, Ms. Finney. That'll conclude tonight's action items. Clerk's report, Mr. Ranka. Clerk Ranka.
Mr. Supervisor, clerk's report will start off with the Planning Commission. So there was a November meeting scheduled that has been canceled because the applicants did not submit anything for the meeting. So we probably will not have another one until January or February unless something comes up, and then we'll schedule as required. And there's a police commission meeting tomorrow night from my other commissions. Regarding the election, so we have 8,621 registered voters on the island. We had 2,439 turnout for the special election last week. It's a 20.3% turnout rate, which is a decent rate for a very off-time election. The ballot proposal did fail. There were 1,075 yes votes, 1,361 no votes. Very special thanks to the entire election staff, Deputy Clerk Gray, Brian Friel, Gail Hager, as well as and especially to all of the precinct workers who work in the various precincts and the absentee ballot precincts. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Clerk. Mr. Treasurer.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. We will have a Commerce Park Commission meeting on next Monday, the 16th. Financial information for October's not finished. You can get it. You can receive all of our expenditures and our investments on my website. In the preparation for in the works for the 2015 winter tax bills. I'm sure everybody's excited about that. I have nothing else.
Thank you, Mr. Treasurer. We'll move on to trustee reports. I'll start with Trustee Mr. Buddy. Trustee Buddy.
Thank you. Tomorrow we have our DPS commission meeting. I'm sure the roads millage will be discussed. So tune in for that if you're interested, which I'm not sure the people of Groseal are. But to my knowledge, no ZBA meeting this month. And I was truly disappointed, number one, in the turnout for the road millage, simply because I don't know if we hear of anything more from complaints from people is about the roads, and then very few show up to vote. And I really don't understand people that voted no, because at our meetings, no one, absolutely no one, other than to say, hey, they're Wayne County roads, which we all know, and we went through that time and again. They really came forth with nothing else as any alternative than what we were doing. So I'm truly disappointed that failed. But on the other hand, with the turnout and with the no votes, it does show you where the majority of the community lies on that issue. And I guess it was much more important to us than it really was to the community. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Buddy. Mr. Belvasto.
Brandy, I'm going to ask your help. Our next CRC meeting, the date on that, I didn't have it in my calendar. Okay, Thursday, CRC meeting, Thursday the 19th. There will be a Fire Commission meeting this Thursday. Other than the Brandy going out for a grant for a new vehicle, things are, at this point, pretty quiet. We're moving along with the, we've had a special meeting in regards to the rebuilding. Yeah, it's just, it's small stuff, but Brandy's moving right along with it. There is progress. There is, full colored 8 by 11 colored photographs of the building. We're not that far yet, but Brandy's working very hard on making it happen. So that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Belvasto. Mr. Posias.
Well, I think you may want to take a break. I have quite a few things tonight. Number one, there is no Greenways open space meeting in December. And Woody's very disappointed in that. We did have our last meeting of the year just last week, Tuesday, and Woody was great. You were a great contributor. And I want to talk about you a little bit later. BPAC meeting will be on the 17th of November, and there is a flyer out the back of the room for one of the things that BPAC is putting out. And I've got something that, as you know, last week I said I was going to adopt a rink. And I have. I attended a meeting. I have a handout. Brandy put this together. Why don't you just take one, Tom, and pass it along? We seem to keep our candle under a bushel often when it comes to activities around here. And I want to talk, first of all, about volunteers, period. The power of volunteers. People that build things like the Playscape 1991, all volunteers. people who took our golf course and made it a public course and nurtured it through years of work and planting trees, people like Bill Morrow, Carl Rausch, amongst others. Please, I do not want to slight anyone by not mentioning names, but these are just some that come to my mind. Our bike path committee, I tease all of them about being my herding wild cats, but we've got a Jane Fiegel, a Bob Fernstone, and Eric Himmelsback working on various items. Volunteers, they're getting it done. Look at the bike rides this year. Look at the concerted effort on the paths and the bridges. It didn't happen without volunteers. Greenways Open Space. Cliff St. Pierre, been around a long time. You know, sometimes we don't agree with Cliff, or some of you don't agree with Cliff. I'll say I'm pretty much in congruence with Cliff, but that's your prerogative, by the way. But when he can take a young man by the name of Mitch Lewis and come up with a fit strip that's going to be really, really sharp addition, that's a volunteer. When you got a Woody Clark who comes up and works twice a year and dump the junk. What a romantic program that is, huh? Dump the junk, find a treasure. But if it wasn't for guys like Woody, if it wasn't for people like Matt Nielsen, who's been working on our oak quilt, Bert Urbani, working, these are relatively new people in Greenwood. These are volunteers. There's a reason for me talking like this. Number one, Randy Boyd has had a challenging year. Is that a fair statement? I think so. Not everybody burns down their biggest building in their first year. And so, you know, she has her hands full. And there's a lot of uncharted territory there. But she's got, number one, a great heart. She's never said no. And she's got a lot of volunteers, including the township staff, that work hard to help her to get through this. We've got people like Carl Moore, who's here. Carl, stand up. Wake up, stand up. There you go. People like Bob Peters. These are rabid hockey fans. And when I heard last week that this rink was just simply not getting publicity and that we owe money, and because we haven't talked a whole bunch, the repayment is being questioned. And that's right, that's okay. We've got people like Carl Moore and Bob Peters out there that are saying, we're going to pay for it. Did you look at that handout about rink fundraisers? Now, that's just a rough draft of 3 or 4 things that are planned. But the only thing that's missing is dates and times and costs. We're going to do this. This township board at the last meeting said that they would have 3 or 4 years to pay it back. We're going to do this. We're ready. Finally, Dale's been a very instrumental person when it comes to trying to organize this, and he has to be careful because of his position, and we understand that. But he doesn't have to be the cheerleader. We have the cheerleader, and we have the crew. If you've not seen that rink is as good as anybody's. We just simply hadn't had the time to make it happen last year. It will happen this year. And it'll be an exciting place for our kids to learn how to skate, perhaps have some competitive events. And you can see that there's an ice rink opening planned on there. We have a Vegas night planned, and that's going to be at West Shore, and that's going to be pretty cool. Those foursomes, can I tell them your secret about who's going to be in the foursomes? I can't tell them that. Okay, all right. We're going to keep that a secret. Expect to see special people at that fundraiser. All board members are what, sir? I heard someone say about. All the board members. I'll be there, and I'm the biggest one. So, at any rate, all I want to do is to make sure that everybody recognizes that until this rink is paid for, I'm going to be its cheerleader. I'm going to beat it every meeting. I'm going to talk about it at every opportunity. We are going to get this rolling, and it is a cool place. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Posiask. Okay, we're all in a good mood, Mrs. Smith.
Oh boy, well, I'll keep it short. November 18th at 7 o'clock is the next Island Fest meeting. Obviously, we now are looking for a energetic, enthusiastic individual who has lots of ideas and is a worker. So if you're interested in volunteering for the Island Fest Committee, please submit your application. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Smith. Let's see. Township Attorney's report. Mr. Assorti? Well, we'll hear plenty in about 15 minutes. Township Manager, Mr. Riem.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Just a few brief items I'd like to report to the board and the community. I've had some discussions with some different community groups and a few of the board members. Earlier tonight we talked about the beautification committee and the awards and their history and anniversary and all the hard work their volunteers do. Well, on the northeast corner of Four Corners, that's the most recent developed landscape corner. And that's the sign where we allow the community groups to place their temporary banners. So administratively, we just began to ask them to push those to the sides, to the right and to the left. So there's going to be some growing pains and some learning, but I wanted to report the same. The other item I discussed with some of the board members, when we have an off-board meeting and we approve the bills for payment, administratively, we're going to institute where we'll send that pay list to the township board via email, even though it's an off meeting, so you'll have that information available to you. And if there's something that you see or have questions, contact the finance director, the clerk, or the treasurer, so we can keep that process in order. And along the lines of the discussions regarding the recent millage, I know myself, I want to thank the Township Board, the DPS Commission, and Chairman Kosik for all the hard work that was put into just educating the community and informing them so they can make a decision. I heard a lot more positive than negative regarding the ballot issue for the road and water millage, but obviously the voters have spoken. But I did receive numerous comments from residents that appreciated the outreach efforts, the community forums, the information flyer, the short kind of interview question and answer video that was placed online. So we were able to get that information out and provide some great background. So once we know what may or may not be decided in the future, obviously any type of ballot or information, we do our best to get the information out. So with that, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Riem. And just to pick up from there, in the interim, we're going to look for every dollar we can get, if we can get from the county, if there's anywhere we can find it to improve the infrastructure here. That's one of the many things we're here for. Whole bunch of odds and ends. Administrative stuff. All township offices will be closed Wednesday, November 11th, 2015, in honor of Veterans Day. In addition, township offices will be closed on Thursday and Friday, the 26th and 27th of November, in honor of Thanksgiving. The last BPAC ride, I guess the Glow Roll on last Wednesday night was another packed event and a lot of fun. I think estimated about 70 riders. And it's exciting. The next ride is Saturday, November 21st, and there are some flyers around here for that. But that's an afternoon ride. That was the lazy ride. It's a good chance to see, just kind of shape our bike paths and just get a bunch of people together. Most of the people who attend these organized rides come from outside the island, and they truck or whatever those things you stick in the back of your bike racks and come in, just ride around the island. We have. Piggyback on Grosse Ile, the island beautification. We have a beautiful island, and people say that when they come here. They love to come here, ride, jog, participate in these bike rides and the running events because it's a beautiful place to visit. With that, let's see. Okay, popular pet photos. We're getting into Christmas stuff. Pet photos with Santa will take place on Thanksgiving weekend, Saturday and Sunday, the 28th, 29th, at the Recreation Building at Centennial Farm. Proceeds from this event benefit Tails, the Grosse Ile Animal Shelter. Island Glow. Again, one of the best parts of my job. Scheduled for Friday, December 4th at Macomb Commons starting at 6 p.m. Check times. I think we light the tree at about 7:30, but we'll have that time posted. Come out and enjoy the festivities and the lighting of the Township holiday tree. It's a Christmas tree. Dinner with Santa. Saturday, December 5th at 5 p.m. Centennial Farm Recreation Building. Contact the Recreation Department for further information and to purchase tickets. Okay, here's one close to home. The Grosse Ile Historical Society Holiday Gift Boutique. which my wife is setting up as we speak, will have, along with Sue's Inc. and a few others, will have their grand opening on Friday, November 27th at the Grosse Ile Customs House. That starts at 3 p.m. The Grosse Ile Customs House is at the corner of East River Road and Grosse Ile Parkway, right behind the train station. Boutique opens Thursday through Sunday through December 20th. Find that one-of-a-kind holiday gift for the person that's hard to shop for, and my supervisor shopping tip remains, if they don't have it, you don't need it. Reminder, and we're still trying to get 100% sign-up. I know it's impossible, but 100% sign-up for Code Red so that our public safety team can advise you of things you need to know. I think I said before, from start to finish, it took me 8 minutes to get logged onto it. It's not too challenging. If you need help, we'll help you get onto it. And Chief Murdoch's 24 hours a day to help you with... but, you know, the more people we reach with this, the less unanswered questions we'll have. Other odds and ends, yard waste, we're still collecting it through December 15th. After December 15th, don't leave the stuff in bags all winter. Get it out by December 15th, please. Vessel info, and this information is good as of this afternoon only, but the Sam Laud, big 750-foot black-hulled motor vessel, coal freighter, is scheduled to be here on the 12th of November at 1 p.m. That schedule is good for about -1 hour and plus 48 hours, and we'll try to advise you. I wish I could do better. We're trying to get more information. We'll update every chance we get so that you're as inconvenienced as little as possible. And I guess my closing. Oh, wait a minute. One more. This is the good mood stuff. We've been in this township for 15 years. And this is actually the actual anniversary is Monday, November the 13th. And look through, it's a big event. And I remember a lot of goings on about moving from the post office and then to Hangar 2 temporarily while this was being refurbished. And this place was really a mess. Put a lot of money into it. Restored it, kept the historic hangar open. So 15 years we've been here. There was a big event that night. And it was also the final meeting of the 1996 to 2000 Township Board. They hosted here, opening this building. So I enjoyed working here. I love my office. I can sit and watch airplanes coming and going and work. But anyway, 15 years we've been in this building. I think we're getting our money's worth out of it. We're keeping the place up, trying to keep it as well maintained as a public safety building. So the challenge is out there, and I think we're up to it. My last question, and this is open-ended. Many of the complaints I got regarding the road millage and its failure to pass was we didn't know about it. We didn't know it was a road millage. And I kind of scratched my head. We mailed a flyer to every house on the island. We pushed it out every chance we got. Obviously, we need a better communications medium. And I just like your input if you like getting stuff pushed out on Facebook, if you like emails. Mailers are expensive, and obviously that didn't work. So if there's a preferred medium to get information to you, please let us know, and we'll work on it. We'll try to perfect it, but we've got to do a better job, and this and a number of other things, of getting information out to the residents. We're looking at some things that are kind of technical. If that's not what you want, let us know. We're here to help. So that concludes my report. With that, we'll move on to public comment.
Mr. Supervisor.
Sorry.
No problem. Before you do that, just a quick advertisement for Code Red. So I know Chief Murdoch and Chief Porcelli are both out there, but when the coal freighter comes, is that information that will be posted on Code Red? So I know we've talked about Code Red. I think there's probably a number of people who don't know what that is. It's basically a system where you provide your phone number or how you'd like to get communicated to, and then the public safety department, police and or fire, can put a message out to your phone. They can text it, they can email it, they can have a phone call go to you. So if you're at work and the freighter is there, you'll get the message saying, hey, the bridge is closed between X and Y because the freighter is now here. So that's what Code Red system is one of the many things it's capable of doing. So I highly encourage you to sign up to Code Red, or for the Code Red system.
The real distinction between this and First Call, which is the system we use for no-fooling emergencies, is we can get text messages. my world, that's the preferred method of immediate pushed-out communication. You get a text message on your smartphone saying just that. There's something we want you to know about that will, something of concern to the residents. And getting it, I don't have to open an email. I don't have to listen to a phone call. It's right there, and it's data, and it's good. So that's the big improvement over first call. So, yeah, please sign up. We're trying to keep everybody in the loop. Mr. Valvesto.
It's one of those rare moments where we're in alignment with each other. Dale Ream asked me a question after the millage failed, if I'd heard anything, and what I shared with Dale was a number of people had come up to me and told me they didn't know what was on the ballot, didn't know what it was about, had no idea. And Dale looked at me kind of puzzled. And so my response is, much like Jim's and yours, disappointed of the low turnout. The roads are a real issue for us, whether we pay for them or live with them as they are in their deteriorating condition. But I don't know if the message of the roads didn't get out, then I'm concerned about our message asking for input as to how better to get this information to the public. I don't know if they're not listening to our message. I don't know how we can better get it out to them. But be it Facebook, be it Twitter, be it Code Red, be it whatever, you have to want to become engaged and involved and listen and ask questions. So, again, this is one of those rare moments we're lined up with each other.
We'll keep working on it.
There we go.
We'll keep working on it. Okay, with that, we'll open the mic to public comment.
One at a time, Woody.
Well, and you know the rules. Introduce yourself. 3 minutes. Mr. Clark, you brought in one of your dolls. Do you want to? Pardon? By all means.
Is that a relative?
Yeah, Joyce. Okay. Woody Clark Park Lane. First off, I want to thank the people who voted no on the road mission. I want to thank them. Next, on their planning mission, I wish you would think about smaller houses than the monsters. We might get more people on the island if you got smaller houses than what we have now. On the junk, we took in about not very much money, about $130 or so. There was a mix-up, and I went to Duncan for Goodfellows. Got the check, right? Okay, well, anyway, they got it by mistake. So we'll leave it as that way it is, so it doesn't turn into a tournament here. And we'll go for next time in March or April for the other one, and that'll go to Tails. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Any other? I got to start by saying the guys working Dump the Junk. I mean, we kind of that was a lot of work, a lot of organizing, and it really is a great opportunity to keep the island beautiful because you just get rid of stuff you don't know how to get rid of otherwise. So, all kidding aside, Woody, thank you very much. Thanks for making that happen. Other public comment? Again, the monitor is in. Okay, with none offered, I will entertain a motion to adjourn from open session.
Support.
Okay, moved by Trustee Posiask. Actually, we need to vote to go to closed session. We have to have a two-thirds vote. Those in favor of adjourning and going to closed session, I need a motion for that.
So moved.
Okay, I've got moved, and I'm going to go with support. So moved by Clerk Rank. Try to keep up with me, Mrs. Gray.
First motion that we didn't vote on, though.
I didn't recognize the second, so that was never a motion.
Okay.
So then I caught up with myself and remembered that we have to have a majority, a supermajority, to go to closed session.
Clerk Ranka and Mr. Budney.
Clerk Ranka and Mr. Budney. Those in favor of adjourning from open session going into closed session, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay, that motion carries. I'll call us adjourned at 8:41. Recessed at 8:41, and we'll meet in the conference. The conference room up here is open. Is your election stuff out? The conference.